In this video, we're going to take a look at a blue ink by KWZ Azure number 4. As always, there's timestamps down below so you can skip around, but if you've got the time, I'd appreciate you checking out the entire video. Also, down in the description are links to the different color playlists, so if you want to see more blues, there's a link to that playlist there. I'm an ink guy, and let's get into the first writing sample done on 90 GSM Clairfontaine. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is a bit lighter than the stub. With no feather spread, halo sheen, it does offer bits of shading. Like brown starts darker and gets a little bit lighter towards the end of the word, and over starts a little bit lighter and then gets darker. 18 seconds to dry. Medium is dark like the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 24 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show no real color variation. We didn't expect it, and we're not getting it. And the smear test you could recover if you smeared while you were writing. To have a range of experience with this ink, all of the writing samples are done with a Jinhao 159 with a 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a medium, and a Jinhao X750 with an extra fine. Then, a Pilot Metropolitan with a medium nib was inked up, used for a day, and used to take the notes for this video. The next writing sample is done on 52 GSM Tomoe River. We have no bleeding, very minor ghosting in a couple areas. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. The extra fine is lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 25 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, and 35 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show no color variation. We're not expecting it and we're not getting it. And the smear test you could not recover if you smeared while you were writing. I agree with Vita. There's a lot to learn by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. A line of ink is put down and then it's put into water for 10 to 15 seconds. And what we really see here is a very kind of darker tealish tone at the bottom and then a brighter blue at the top. So we really do have two different dyes going on here, which is a bit interesting. I didn't expect that. The one on the right was let dry for 10 minutes before it's dunked into water. And we really don't see much of a difference between the two of them, which means I'm not expecting much resistance for this ink. The next writing sample is done on 80 GSM Rhodia dot pad. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. The extra fine is a little bit lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, some gentle shading from extra dark to dark. Like quick starts really dark, gets a little bit lighter, and then really dark again. Brown starts really dark and works its way a little bit lighter on the WN. So we do see some color variation here. 20 seconds to dry. Medium is about the same tone as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 27 seconds to dry. Now the scrubby of the extra fine shows some color variation, and that's about what we get. The medium shows none, and we got none. But the smear test says you could recover if you smeared while you were writing. Resistance tests are done to see how this ink can be expected to perform on a page, and more importantly, how hard it may be to clean from your pen. This smear is allowed to dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, it does expand itself a little bit. It does have some spread, but everything there is very readable. It does have some minor feathering that occurs with it, but nothing that destroys the notes that have been written, which could make you feel safe using it in a note-taking situation. Now, water does quite a bit to really break this ink up, and you see on the top edge some of the white of the paper coming through. Given more than 30 seconds, I think this could take it completely off the paper. Pen flush is acting just a little bit faster than water did, but it's doing basically the same thing. Now, it only took water to get this out of my pen. And the 1/3 bleach solution, you're not going to need it, but it completely obliterates it. The next writing sample is done on yellow Rhodia paper. This isn't done for any kind of performance. It's really done to see tone changes. And you'll notice that it goes from being a very blue to it really brings out that kind of turquoise that was in the chromatography, it really does turn a turquoise over here. Not as obvious on the scrubby, but in the writing, very much so. It does hold on to some of its blue in that wet stub, though. Just something to be aware of if you work in a professional environment on yellow paper. For the inks tested, the average viscosity was 2.5, and the realm of normal was 2.1 to 2.9. KWZ's Azure No. 4 has a viscosity of 2.16, making it normal. Now, if you're interested in how all that viscosity stuff is done, there's a link to that video down in the description. Now let's take a look at the next writing sample done on life paper. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo sheen, or shade. The extra fine is quite a bit lighter than the stub, with no feather, spread, halo sheen, decent shading as over goes light to dark, brown goes darker to lighter to darker on the N, quick goes dark to light to dark, 17 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the stub, with no feather, spread, halo sheen. It does shade fairly well. Like quick goes darker to lighter to darker. Over goes lighter to darker. 23 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both, don't show much in color variation, but it's not too bad in the writing. And the smear test, you could certainly recover it if you smeared while you were writing. For the inks tested, the average dry time was 17 seconds, and the realm of normal was 13 to 21 seconds. KWZ's Azure No. 4 has an average dry time of 25 seconds, making this take quite a bit longer than normal. The next writing sample is done on Apica paper. We have no bleeding and no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo sheen, or shade. The extra fine is quite a bit lighter than the stub, with no feather, spread, halo sheen. It does shade rather well. The goes light to dark. Over goes light to dark. Lazy goes dark to light. 13 seconds to dry. Medium is darker than the extra fine, just a bit lighter than the stub, with no feather, spread, halo sheen, or shade. 18 seconds to dry. Now the scrubby for both show really no color variation, although it's not too bad with the extra fine. And the smear test, you could recover it if you smeared while you were writing. Instead of finding inks that look like KWZ's Azure No. 5, I'd prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. I went with a nice magenta ink from Montegrappa, their Fuchsia. Now, if you'd prefer a different complement color, then down in the description are links to those different playlists. So what do I think of KWZ's Azure No. 4? The longer dry times are a concern if you're someone that finishes writing and immediately close their notebook. I don't mind longer dry times. It gives a bit of shading to a very nice blue tone. So what nib and pen will give the best writing experience with this ink? I find that you get a nice tone and some spots of some really decent shading from a medium to dry flow, medium or fine nib. I hope you got something out of this video, and in the next video we're going to take a look at Roher and Klinger's Verdura.